Okay, it is 6:30. I will call the Merrillville Plan Commission meeting to order, and we will all stand and pledge allegiance to our American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Secretary, would you please take the roll call vote? Jeff?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mellon is absent. Mr. Rich?
Here.
Mr. Holtz?
Here.
Mr. Pettit?
Here.
I am here. Mr. Deering?
Here.
Madam President?
Here.
We have 6 present and a quorum.
Thank you very much. Oh, on our agenda, we also have the election for this year. That would include nominations for the president, for the vice president, and the secretary. So, can I have a nomination, please? Mr. Bryan, did you want to nominate?
Madam President, I would just, unless the rest of the board has a problem, I'd just keep everything the same this year. I know I can't speak for myself being secretary, but I think.
Okay, would you put that in the form of a nomination then? You nominate the whole board?
Put that in the form of a motion to keep everybody the same.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeff Minchuk to keep the board the way it's the same. I am the president. Thank you, Jeff.
You're
And
welcome.
We have vice president, Mr. Brian Daring, and secretary Jeff Minchuk. And thank you all.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's been passed.
We're good.
We have the same board, okay? Thank you all. Okay, we will continue on with the agenda. We had the election. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 21st, 21?
So moved for discussion, Madam President.
Ooh, I have discussion too.
I do too. I bet you and I had the same discussion.
Yep.
John
Okay.
Minchuk.
That's my middle name.
I will second that for
That's all right.
discussion. Okay, go right
It's
ahead.
Jeffrey Minchuk, not John Minchuk.
Well, my middle name
I
is.
said Jeff.
John's on the board up the street at
MCD.
6200.
I didn't even look at
Why,
it.
who said John? I
It's
said,
in
It
the
says
minutes.
John in the minute.
On the minutes, yeah.
oh, on
my
the
God.
minutes. Oh,
We
you're
did the
correcting
minutes.
that.
I
Oh,
I
okay.
apologize, Marie did the minutes.
Happens
I didn't,
all-
I usually look at them, I did not.
Oh, it
apologize.
happens all the time. But my middle
I did
name,
it.
my middle name is John, so you're not totally wrong.
Okay, is that accepted by the board for a correction?
I'll make the correction.
No problem.
Okay, correction mentioned and accepted by the board?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, continuing on, are there any communications from any board members tonight? Hearing none, we will continue on from comments from the chairman. I have no comments at this time. Any old business from the board? Hearing none, we will continue on to our agenda on new business. Okay, item 1, P1FP1-0222. This is Luxor Homes Incorporated, petitioner and owner. They are located approximately southeast intersection of Whitcomb and US 30. The final planned unit development approval in a R2 residential zoning district and C3. Highway commercial district on 200 acres, residential, the purposes for a residential mixed use development. Sheila, do you have a staff report on that?
Petitioner is requesting final plan unit development approval for a mixed unit development to be located on approximately 200 acres in a PUD C3, R2, and R1 zoning district. Proposed development will be known as Liberty Estates. Liberty Estates will consist of enclaves, 400 apartment units, 3-story buildings with pool and social center. The development will also have single-family lots, the residence at Liberty Estates, duplex lots, Liberty Villas, and lots for cottages to be known as the Gardens. The Gardens will offer maintenance-free living. There will also be a storage facility on site. Liberty Estates will be developed in phases 1 of the development will begin with single-family homes. The proposed development will be served with sanitary sewers, curbs, gutters, streets, and common water and storm sewer. Each development will have a defined landscaping plan and landscaping entrance signage which clearly identifies the neighborhood, with Liberty Estates helping to create a specific sense of place. Engineers and the stormwaters have provided comments to the petitioners. In addition, there have been several meetings between developers, engineers, and staff regarding the development. Petitioner continues to work with the staff to resolve any and all remaining issues.
Thank you, Sheila. Oh, yes, we did have a workshop at our last Plan Commission meeting. It was a workshop. So I'm going to leave comments and questions to the board, starting with Mr. Rich. Any questions or comments?
No, no.
Before we give approval. Rick Holtz, anything?
No, he did mention that, he would put in that safety light, I guess you wanna call it, at the, near the curb, so,
What curve would that be? By that dangerous curve?
yeah.
Oh, okay, you're talking about a light.
You're talking about a hawk.
The Hawk system.
Oh, okay. You want to explain what it is for the public, the Hawk system?
Randy?
I have a handout for the Hawk System update if you would like to see it. In our last meeting, I don't know if I have enough for,
We can share. We're good.
in our last meeting, it was discussed that there was still concern on my recommendation for three different protective lighting
Sure.
solutions. So we've added a fourth. The fourth is south of the Whitcomb/87th curve. So if you're coming from the south going north, you would now have a warning flasher. This is in the Dropbox.
I think I saw this. I saw this today.
So we have warning flashing lights coming from north to south, south to north, and then push button pedestrian crossing from the east side to the west side to the east side, that, anyone can initiate.
Sure.
And stop traffic.
Very good. Any other questions, Mr. Holtz?
No, he's just, and, obviously, we've talked before in the past, obviously he'll have the proper deceleration lines and, lanes and acceleration lanes on his side of the road. Other than that, no.
Okay, thank you. Brian, Daring?
Just, and this is only because I caught the tail end of the meeting that you just had. If engineering or Randy or whoever wants to give an update on where we're going with future plans for that curve. I know that this is gonna be a number of year project, so, the Hawk system is a great way to start dealing with that issue. If you could bring everybody up to date on what you've been discussing.
That's what I was going to ask after all the board members have a question.
So we, sorry, Marge, not
Okay,
to
any
interrupt you.
questions from Jeff?
I'll let Steve go ahead. He can probably sum up
Okay.
everything we just did at our.
How about John? You just had that meeting. I'm sorry, I missed
Yeah,
it.
no, it's gonna be with Randy and Steve, and we talked about, follow-up meetings with Randy's legal team and Joe and Steve, to hammer out an agreement, so we can turn it over to Steve and Randy.
Okay, Steve. go
So
ahead.
what we talked about in the RDC workshop, before this meeting is, a corridor study, to identify problem areas and come up with an overall solution for the entire corridor. The thing of this is this project is a multi-year, multi-phase development. As Randy said in the meeting in the back, impact traffic-wise, you're probably 2 to 3 years out, just because of the way it's gonna be built, the way it's gonna be phased. you know, even what Randy's proposing here with his hawk signal, I mean, this is, you know, it might not even look like this when we're done. This is just, you know, this is just a proposed. So it's gonna take some work, with the town, with Randy, with our consulting engineers to, come up with a plan, to safe up this corridor, for everybody. And again, it's gonna be a few years in the making here, so.
So you're estimating about a couple of years, maybe, with that plan?
Randy, you talked about a couple of years?
Well, in terms of us physically generating
Correct.
significant traffic, that's going to be a couple of years. Keep in mind up front, we are going to be improving the intersection of Whitcomb and 30,
Yes,
and have done a detailed traffic study to understand our impact. We're also improving Taney and 30, that intersection a little bit. And then this is just a great first step. You know, how can you immediately impact something that doesn't work today?
sure.
But by the time we start generating more traffic, I think the developer and the town recognize together that working together jointly to provide a longer-term solution makes sense. And we were doing a little bit of brainstorming, and we're going to follow up and do some more.
And, you know, what we have to understand is the developer and the town are married in a bond issue right now.
Yeah.
So we have a vested interest, both of us, to make sure that there's a workable solution. Developer is fully on board in terms of being willing to discuss different options and be supportive of those options for the town. The town has an interest too, to get involved in those conversations. So at this time, you know, with this project, you know, having multiple hearings and multiple meetings, you know, I would like to see this thing go forward because the developer has invested significant time, significant money, and is ready to go in terms of financing and development on this, so.
That being said, Madam President, I make a motion that we approve P1FP1-0222.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit to approve P1FP1-0222, seconded by Mr. Minchuk.
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
What is it?
Randy, is this including the extra little parcel that you were talking about purchasing down at 89th and Chase? Is that
89th
included
and
in-
Chase property is closing Wednesday, and this
Okay.
includes that parcel.
So what we are approving tonight does include that extra 50 acres down?
Yes,
Perfect.
and tied into that through the ordinance draft that has been reviewed by council is commitment, for example, of the park, the largest part of the park, et cetera. So yes, it is all together.
Fantastic, thank you.
Very good. Okay, does that answer your
No,
question?
that's all I had, Madam Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and seconded by Jeff Minchuk and a motion by Sean Pettit. All in favor?
Madam President, point of order.
Yes.
Sheila, is this an advertised public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to need
I
public
thought it
comment.
was.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
need public comment.
Any public comments out there or questions?
We want to open it, we want to open the.
We'll open it for public comment and questions. 3 minutes, please.
okay. Could you give us your
Okay.
name and address, sir, please?
I sure will. Rick LaFever, 3655 West 79th Place. That curb definitely needs some work, and it has to be planned correctly, so everybody, you know, your part can fit in, and the hawk light and everything else. Although I don't, that hawk light, you can keep that thing. But, yeah, the curb needs to be worked on, but when we do this, let's make sure that it's built for future development too. Not just, okay, we're gonna do it this year, and in 5 years, we're gonna do it again. You know, make sure it kind of fits in the overall plan for the project. And gotta tell you, a roundabout, that's not gonna happen there. That shouldn't happen there. Not at this point. It's just not, doesn't seem like a viable option.
Yes.
You know, so, well, that's all I got.
Mr. LaFever lives in my ward. He's called me several times, and
Very good.
I agree with him. I'm not in favor of a roundabout, but I'm sure they'll work out something that'll be permissible.
Well,
Okay,
and-
Rick?
And Steve, when we get our traffic studies done, can we plan on future development in that area?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll make
So
sure
when-
it's designed
So
for
when
the
we do our
future.
studies, we'll plan on
Yeah.
highest and best use out of all properties there.
Anybody else with questions or comments, rather?
My name is Mark Wilkerson. I live on 8535 Taney Street.
What is your name?
Mark Wilkerson.
Okay.
I'm an advisor to the homeowners association at Chapel Hill Farm.
You're advisor to what?
I'm an advisor to their board, their homeowners association,
On 85th and Taney Place?
the Chapel Hill Farm neighborhood, which
Chapel
half of this
Hills?
project is butts up against.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Continue,
it's an adjoining property.
All
The only reason there's more people not here is because the adjoining property is it's a common area, so it doesn't go up against each individual lot. So none of those people know about this meeting at all. And the newspaper has done almost nothing to advertise this development at all. There's no maps given out here. There's no development plans shared with the public that should know all of this stuff, and they know none of it. I used to be a land use planner, so I do know what I'm talking about.
I thought this was
I gotta tell you,
advertised.
we've had
Did you not
multiple
say it
meetings
was
on this
advertised?
situation.
No, you haven't.
Oh, yes, we
Your,
have.
your meetings have, I've been to two of them, they were just worthless. You don't even discuss the issues that are at hand. It's more than just that curve. That's the least of our issues. The biggest part of our issues is the traffic that's gonna go through from 1,000 units. I've read the plans in detail.
Okay,
This is pathetic.
What is your concern, sir?
I will list them. This development, as proposed, does not meet the town of Merrillville open space requirements. Open space is supposed to be 10% of the development that is set aside for residential use, and that calculation does not include retention ponds or wetlands. That's the law. In other words, it's land that is dedicated to the residential users for recreational use, playgrounds, and dog walking. At present, this development isn't even close to the 10% of the open space requirements. That's one point. There appears to be only 4 roads in and out of this development. One of those roads is Heritage North, connects to Heritage North in an area that is not designed for traffic that would be generated from the entrance and exit of this development. It's a tiny little road. In fact, on our side of it, the road that connects to Chapel Hill Farms is in an area that's not designed for traffic that will be generated from that exit as well. These subdivision streets where temporary on-street parking is allowed in our subdivision. So now you're gonna have cars on 1 or 2 sides that are perfectly legal and a dinky little single slot. And you're gonna stick 1,000 new units next to that and say, oh yeah, come and go as you please? It's not gonna work. It's not even close. I used to be a transportation planner too.
Okay, I believe your 3 minutes are up, sir. I
Okay.
think Mr. Hall could answer. Can you answer these questions, Mr. Hall? Or his questions?
I certainly can try. Although there is a calculation that is recommended for the open space, we have suggested instead multiple green areas throughout the subdivision, which allows for a little more continuity and residential participation, as well as one large park on the southern 50 acres. In regards to traffic, we did have a detailed traffic study done, sir, which shows most of the traffic going west. And of course, I don't want to try and speak for the study, but it's extremely detailed, including all possible productive traffic to and from the subdivision.
I believe we discussed the retention pond at the workshop, Randy. Can you go in detail explaining that to the gentleman?
The detention pond?
Yeah, the retention pond, which was close to the Army Corps of Engineers there somewhere. You had talked about a retention pond, I believe, coming in, a small one.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. Were we talking about the wetland area?
Yeah, the wetland area we talked about, and I thought you said there was a possibility of a small retention pond.
So,
that correct, Brian? Weren't we talking about that?
We were talking more about, working with the wetland, under the auspices that he can touch it. And using that area for things like native species, an open space, all under, working with the Army Corps and JF New.
Okay.
I understand
Thank
now.
I knew it had a lot to do with the Army Corps.
Thank you. So, and kind of has to do with parks, so now I understand your point. So paperwork is slow through the government agencies. Unfortunately, I have been communicating through your staff, Mr. Lake, as an example. We're waiting for the Army Corps to respond. We expect them to give us a letter, both that they don't feel we're having any negative impacts, and secondly, they don't have jurisdiction. If and when my presumption is correct, and then the town of Merrillville will get jurisdiction, and we've had some preliminary conversations about using some for detention and some for park. So it will be an opportunity, but we're just waiting for those letters of
Very good.
distinction.
And the gentleman that spoke did bring up about the percentage, but I think at the workshop, we went over that in pretty much great detail.
And we've also had consultants
Right.
review this plan extensively.
And keep in
So
mind,
So it's not like we've had one secret meeting and now we're here.
Keep-
This has been multiple meetings.
this has been going
It's
on
in
since
multiple-
last
in front of
summer.
multiple bodies.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, folks, this is a planned unit development. That means when we created this zoning district, which is a zoning district in Indiana, the developers are allowed to modify and reduce the normal standards either in that zoning district or in the subdivision control ordinance. That's why we have the PUD, so that they can move things around and they can shorten things. They give and we give as a part of the PUD. And that's what it was intended to do.
Are there any other questions or comments from the public?
Yeah.
Any more questions or comments at the public hearing? Any more? Okay, I will close the public hearing at this time and continue on with the board. What is your opinion now at this time, board?
Madam President,
We have
we have
a
a
motion.
motion has been properly seconded on the floor. I call for the vote, please.
Okay, we will call for the vote. Mr. Rich?
No,
No?
No.
You're voting no?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Rick Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Minchuk?
I'm a yes.
Sean Pettit?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, too. Motion passes 5-1, okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
and
you for your time.
proceed with your plans. I wish you luck, and I think it's a great project.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. We will continue on with the agenda. Item 2, P2Z1-0222, Crow Holdings Industrial, Sean Andrews, petitioner, and CP Sanders Farm LLC owner. This is located at 9820 and 9885 Mississippi Street. The request, a zoning change from M1 Industrial Zoning District to Commercial Industrial Special Zoning District on 195.58 acres. The purpose, of commercial industrial warehouse use. Is somebody here present to talk about Crow Holdings? Please give us your name and address.
Oh, is this, I'm with Crow Holdings. Is this public comment or?
No. Just your name and.
Your name and
presenting,
address.
Sean.
Got it. Okay, yeah, sorry. Sean Andrews with Crow Holdings, the petitioner for this rezoning application. I represent the developer, through stated Crow Holdings. We've, since we last spoke, we've made great progress in procuring some of these construction materials that are in extreme short supply at the moment. We've also been working on our infrastructure needs. We're close on the infrastructure, but from a vertical construction standpoint, Crow is prepared to commence this spring, April, hopefully. Since our last meeting, we've given our public notice in a publication, as well as alerting adjacent property owners. We'll be working the next 30 days with Mr. Svetanoff on a development agreement that will outline our CCNRs and other items for the infrastructure component for this project. So looking forward to the next step, but no, we have to get past this critical one this evening. I'm open for any questions if you guys might have, happy to address those.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Rich. Any questions or comments on Crow Holdings development?
No, I like the development. I think it's going to be a good thing for Mississippi Street.
Rick, any questions
I
or
think-
comments?
I think at the workshop, I asked about like a traffic study.
That's right. Yep. So I just received the traffic study about 2 hours ago, so I can't speak to the specifics of it, but I can tell you that for trip generation on a daily basis, it's about 300 to 400 trips at peak hours. Under that trip generation, a traffic signal and acceleration deceleration lanes were not warranted. We still think it makes a lot of sense for not only the park, but to keep traffic flowing through the area. So we're prepared to work with the town to try and install a signal for security reasons as well as traffic flow purposes.
Brian, any questions or comments? Oh, are you finished, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I
Nothing?
think everything I had was covered at the workshop.
very good. Jeff?
No, ma'am.
Nothing? Sean, it's your ward. Any questions?
You
Did we
guys-
not talk about lighting in the corridor there somewhere?
Yeah, we will need
Yeah.
to discuss that as a redevelopment commission with Steve, and, yeah, my feelings were pretty clear last 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Steve, does everything look to be in order down the line?
Yeah, we'll work with, Mr. Andrews on the development of the corridor as far as the signalized intersection, things like that. Leave it at that.
So you think everything's in order at
I
the,
think it'll be fine. I mean, just conceptual drawing for right now. I mean, looking forward to see it coming to light.
oh, okay. Sheila, yes, give us your staff report, I'm sorry.
Petitioner is requesting a zoning change approval from M1 Industrial Zoning District to Commercial Industrial Special District to be located on 195.58 acres. Petitioner would like to build a Class A warehouse distribution facilities at this location. The proposed development will meet all town codes and requirements.
Well, I think everything was in order since we had a good workshop meeting with you, Mr. Andrews. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve P2Z1-0222.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Sean Pettit and seconded by Brian Daring to approve P2Z1-0222. Roll call vote.
Hang on, Madam Chairman, we had a
Yes.
question here.
Does it have to be open to the public?
Is this an advertised public hearing?
Should
I
be an
don't know, is
advertised
this
public hearing.
advertised for a public
This
hearing?
is.
Yeah.
Sent out.
Open your public hearing.
Okay, we're open for a public hearing. Any questions? Come on up, or comments?
Paul Blady, 1213 East 101st Avenue. I'm just, property just south of that. I just want to know what they're going to do to manage the water.
Sorry?
Manage to run off the water. You're going to take all that property and put concrete and asphalt down. Where's the water going to go?
Well, that'll be a question for our engineer. Go right ahead, Steve. What did you study on that?
Well, we just have a conceptual drawing. This is just for a zone change, so all we have right now is just a conceptual drawing. It hasn't even been engineered yet.
Yeah, but everything's gonna drain east.
What is your name and address, sir?
It's Paul Blady, 1213 East 101st Avenue.
Okay, you're right there in that area?
I'm just south of that.
Okay, so you have concerns about water running off?
Yes. Right
This-
now,
is a zone. Receive any
Yeah, this approval
This is-
tonight
yeah.
only,
water from that area. Everything's.
no, all that water runs into Deep River, and Deep River backs up into my fields.
Right.
Because St. John, Crown Point, Winfield, Merrillville, Hobart, all runs into Deep River.
Yeah, they'll have to meet the requirements.
Point to you, we have an extensive detention pond system and stormwater management system. that
Well,
we
I
look into
realize
management.
retention ponds, but how are you gonna drain the retention ponds
so that they don't, you've got the Ameriplex property, which is right by me. Those ponds are full of water and they never drain down.
Well, those are wet detention. They'll constantly hold a certain amount of water.
Yes, but then when it rains, all that water runs off into the fields now.
Well, this is actually a meeting for the zone change from M1 to commercial.
Well,
And
if it's gonna
Mr.
get changed, I
Andrews?
wanna know if we're gonna handle the water.
Mr. Andrews, can you work with our engineer on that water problem there?
Absolutely. We will, in order for this development to be approved, it does have to go through a vetting
Yes.
process on its storm. We're working hand in hand with Matt, making sure that the stormwater is addressed.
John, is Ameriplex having problems with water there?
Not that I'm aware of.
No,
No, it all runs in our field.
no, that's not true.
Anybody else care to speak? State your name and address, please.
Name is John Aspinar, 2111 East 89th Avenue. My sister's property is adjoining to this. And again, our main concern is stormwater. I have a development in front of my farm, and they reversed water flow and are now dumping it on me, which involves the preserve subdivision and golf construction. And I'd like not to see that happen again on this property.
Matt, can you answer that question?
Sorry, just to correct him, the water from golf construction and all that, that development over there runs to the preserves. The natural flow of what was going to your property, your farmland, still goes there. Actually, we're collecting and directing more to the preserves in that direction,
We
so.
just bought that retention pond for a
yeah.
lot of money in my neighborhood.
Yeah, and also, Robinson studied that before, because he had called in the past, he had disproved all that, so if you want to see all the engineering and calcs that Ron had come up with before he left, it's completely untrue.
John, you're down on the curve, right, on 89th?
Yes,
Yep.
and that is not correct, because you can go back on Google Earth and you can see the water flow to the north. Now it is coming to the south. And also FES2 is still covered up, which is supposed to be open.
All the drainage there goes to the north, that's supposed to go to the north. So I can show you again, we're not going to spend any more money on engineers to, show you, the design and everything else. We had it resurveyed. And in fact, the new development that's going to be proposed there will take even more drainage away. It will be grading away from you, where right now it's grading the opposite way, the natural grading right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, we're not going to spend any more money on engineering to just show you again what we showed you at least once or twice.
Well, I can show you pictures of
You can show all the pictures
FES2.
you want, that's fine.
This is public comment, not public
Yeah.
question and answer.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe, Matt, you could go over something later with the gentleman.
Yeah, we've already done that.
Oh, you have? Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Any other comments? Public hearing? Any other comments? Okay, this is closed for the public hearing. If there isn't anything else, do we entertain a motion?
We have a motion.
Seconder on
Second.
the floor, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Roll call vote?
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Holtz,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Deering,
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
we have 6 votes.
Okay, 6 votes in favor of the zoning change. All approved. Thank you. Is there any other business to discuss tonight, board members?
Madam President, I have 2 items, real quick that I want to bring up. One's an announcement, if the Plan Commission members wish to attend, and I think I brought this up before. I'm holding a neighborhood meeting on the 24th of February at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. I believe I made it for 7 o'clock, and this is to discuss a potential development at I-65 and 73rd Avenue. So anyone that wants to attend, you're more than welcome. The potential developer has sent out letters to the adjoining property owners on Carolina Street. I talked with Mr. Deering a little bit about that. He has family that lives over there, and they're going to make their presentation as to what they want to do on that property south of the high school. They have not filed anything with Sheila yet. The other item I want to bring to everyone's attention is I've been approached by a gentleman who's been in front of us before with the Misner Group, and he is anticipating possibly buying 5 acres that would have Broadway frontage immediately south of the Ace Hardware, and he wants to put in a 50,000 square foot pods building. And you guys are all familiar with the pods. They would be inside the 50,000 square foot building, but there would be some outside storage. Sheila and I researched the CIS zoning district, and it does not specifically say you can't have outside storage. It is a very attractive building that would have Broadway frontage, but he would then have the pods in the back of the building. And what I'm going to try and recommend to him is that at a minimum, Sheila, we make him have an 8-foot PVC fence around the perimeter of his property to hide those things. You may not see him from Broadway, but you're probably going to see him from inside the park at a Merrillville. This is the guy from the Misner Group. So I told him I would talk at the Plan Commission and see what everyone's feelings were. If I can get the screening, it's a big investment out there in the park. So I didn't know how everybody felt about it's a retail, it's kind of a retail operation because you go in there and that's where you would rent the pods and then they would deliver them to your house, your driveway.
Sure.
You put your stuff in there and then, they go.
Is he gonna ask for incentives?
He did not say, Joe.
Okay, well, just make sure Mr. Adler understands that if he asks for incentives,
Yeah, oh yeah, I got you.
Okay.
I hear you. Loud and clear.
All right.
I was just concerned about the outside storage. I'm not worried about the building. If you wasn't talking about outside storage with the pods, I would have told him, go ahead and buy the property, Eddie, and I'll support you. I'm concerned about the outside storage in back of the building, which would be on the east side of the building. Again, if it's not screened, you're gonna see it from Pinnacle Hospital. Think of it that way.
Sounds
So,
good.
so,
Just off the top of my head, I would agree with the outside storage, I'd be concerned. Also concerned with me would be is everything we're trying to do to beautify the Broadway corridor. Somebody being on Broadway, I would really eyeball that pretty close, so.
all right. What do you think of a fence, Jeff?
We'll have to see whatever he has to offer. I mean, like I said,
All right.
something.
Sean,
Well,
and
we'll have
this
to
is
look
only
at it.
because I was out towards there last night. There's quite a few in that industrial area going from Indiana Street over to Broadway, just south of Summit. There are quite a few storage areas there, 24-hour access with the keypads and everything else. But they're hidden dark and deep. They're not on the main corridor. You cannot see the way that they built their, the wall at Broadway. You see everything at Broadway, but you don't see this behind the attractive businesses,
Yeah. Well, one idea is he talked about a 50,000 square foot building. Quite frankly, Eddie, you need to make it, whatever the footprint is of that outside, it all needs to be enclosed. We don't have a problem with pods being there, being on Broadway, having Broadway frontage, but the outside storage,
well, plus it's a high-tech office park.
right, it is.
You also asked, is there gonna be like office space there for his business?
Well, yeah, you would go in there and it'd probably have like a storefront where you'd go
Well, I'm
rent
saying
those
that would
things.
probably what you would want to face Broadway with everything behind it.
Right,
I would
exactly.
assume.
Right,
Yeah.
well, and I think that that's the whole intent of the commercial industrial special zoning district, not M1. It's not M1. If you want to put it somewhere, put it in an M1 area, or
right.
find a way to make it look
And
like
he hasn't
commercial industrial.
purchased the property. This is owned by an individual. It's 5 acres that he's thinking of buying. And he wanted to know how we felt about putting this development on this parcel before he buys it. So,
I think it's very interesting. And what is the date of your neighborhood meeting, the date and the time?
February 24th at 7. All right, I'll work with Sheila and we'll give Eddie a call and kind of run through some things. Okay, that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Any other business? If not, I'll call for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
So
meeting adjourned.
I have
Thank you all for attending.
a community meeting Saturday.